Yes, it's me. I know you can't believe it. Sometimes I can hardly believe it myself. The last time I saw you, I was headed out of our village as a man condemned to die. I wasn't a criminal. That would have been easier. I was a leper. My rotting body was my prison. A prison from which I had no hope of escape. When I left our village, I found a place to stay along the borderline between Galilee and Samaria. I stayed with 9 other lepers. They were all Jews. Since I'm a Samaritan, I knew that had we all been healthy, we would have been bitter enemies. But suffering has a way of washing away your pride and your prejudice. Because we weren't really living together. We were dying together. We had no family. We couldn't come near our families for fear of infecting them with our contagious disease and cursing their lives the way our lives had been cursed. All we had was each other. We didn't really belong anywhere. When we came near a healthy person, we had to stay 50 yards away from them to keep them safe. We had to shout, "Unclean!" to give them fair warning to stay away from us. At first, that distance felt like a terrible burden, but after a while, when you've seen them staring at you, when you've seen the horror in their eyes at the very sight of you, when you sense that they're whispering to each other, what terrible sin did he commit to deserve such horrible punishment? After a while, you just as soon people stay away. Well, that's how we were living. Worst of all, we had no hope. Our hopes and dreams had rotted away quicker than was our diseased flesh. Well, we heard some news. We heard that a healer was going to be in the village nearby. Jesus from Nazareth. Oh, we'd heard of other healers before. None of them had helped us, but what did we have to lose? Why not give him a try? So we came as close as the rules would allow us to the village, and we saw at a distance that he and his followers were passing by. We couldn't see him clearly. I couldn't see the features of his face. I could only guess which one was Jesus by the way everyone was surrounding him as he moved. But we cried out at that distance, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." didn't really expect an answer. Who has an answer for a leper? Most people, when they see you, they just silently turn and walk away as though you don't even exist. But he had an answer. And he answered so quickly, he startled us. He yelled back, "Go! Show yourselves to the priests." What did he mean? Was he confused? Some people said he was kind of out there. Did he not understand that lepers can't come into the community? Or was he being cruel? Did he want us to go back to the priests and hear those same words of rejection again and be sent back out into the wilderness? But his words were so confident. They were so strong that we decided we would do what he had said. So we began our journey back toward the village, back toward the priests, and a chance to present ourselves again. We weren't sure why. As we walked along, we mostly looked at our feet. We could hardly look at each other without staring. Each one deep in his own thoughts about what leprosy had taken, and wondering if this man, through his command, was offering us some kind of healing or just more heartache. I glanced up to share some of my own fears with one of my friends, and when I glanced at him, he looked different. It struck me. Then I realized how he looked different. His skin. It wasn't patchy and white. It wasn't shriveling up and rotting. His face looked like the skin of a little child. I glanced down at my own hands and I saw the same incredible thing. My hands were no longer rotting. My fingers no longer stubs. I was made clean. I was made whole. For a moment I thought, oh, this is a dream. This is a wonderful dream, and I'm going to wake up and I'm going to find myself in the death grip of that illness again. But I wasn't asleep. This wasn't a dream. It was most real. I was clean. Now we didn't just walk toward the priest. It was more like we ran. The excitement had spread throughout our group, and there was, for the first time, joy and anticipation among us. We were a happy group as we journeyed along to find the priest, and we thought about all that Jesus had given to us through this act of healing. He had given us back our families. No longer did we have to stay away, but we could go home. We could embrace our wives. We could hug our children. We could sleep in our own beds. He'd given us back our sense of belonging, because no longer did we have to live at a distance. No longer did we have to live between Samaria and Galilee, just living between life and death. We could come close enough to shake a good friend's hand, close enough to buy something in the market. close enough to worship in the synagogue. For the first time, we could remember we had hope. We felt the joy of our hope growing instead of the horror of our bodies rotting. We arrived. We found the priests. And didn't they look shocked to see us? They looked afraid. And one of them rather timidly asked, "Oh, why are you here?" I found enough courage to speak for the group. "We believe we are clean. We have come to be examined." As skeptical as they were, it was their job. And so one by one, they checked us over. They diagnosed us and found each one to be free from leprosy. They found each one to be clean. They released each one to go home. I stood there as they went through the group, and I saw my circle of suffering disperse. As my fellow comrades in misery were not thinking about me anymore and not thinking about our circle of suffering, they were on their way back to their families, their communities, their jobs. They were going back into life. I was the last one. I waited until the last to be examined. If I'd been turned down, maybe I didn't want anyone else to hear it. But I too was found clean. One of the priests, awestruck by what he had seen, asked me a question. "How did this happen? How?" I thought for a moment and said, I don't know how, but I know who. And when I heard myself say that, I knew what I had to do. I left the priest. As much as I wanted to go home, I wasn't going there first. There was somewhere I had to go. I had to find this Jesus of Nazareth. I had to thank him. I went back to the road I had seen him traveling through our village and on toward Jerusalem, and I ran, I hurried to catch up. When I came close to the edges of the group, my first instinct was to stay at a distance. My first instinct was to yell, to make them get out of the way. And then I realized I don't have to do that. I pressed my way through the crowd. I touched all kinds of people as I weaved my way through them, until I came into the presence of this man, Jesus. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't face him. I fell down at his feet. It's the only thing that could express what I felt. I fell down at his feet, and I tried to put more gratitude into words than words are able to express. I thanked him for giving me back my family, my community, my vocation, for giving me a new life. And as I knelt there, Jesus asked the crowd a question. He said, were not 10 healed? Where are the other 9? Has this one Samaritan alone come back to give thanks? Where are the other 9? I knew where they were. They were busy. They were busy enjoying the gift that He'd given them. They were busy hugging their wives and blessing their children. They were busy reuniting with friends. He had to understand that. But He didn't ask in anger or disappointment. There was no indignation in His voice that they'd failed Him somehow. There was a note of sadness, like there was something more He wanted them to have that He couldn't give them because they hadn't come back to see Him. Then He spoke to me. He said, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you whole." Slowly I stood up, but I didn't leave immediately. I just stared at Jesus. I wanted to memorize the features of His face. I wanted to gaze into the love that was in His eyes. I wanted to remember Him forever. Then I turned and left. And I went on my way. And for a long time, as happy as I was, something bothered me. Why did He say those words to me that He didn't say to any of the others? Your faith has made you whole. All of us had received the same miraculous gift. All of us had been given back our families, our communities, our futures, our lives. But finally I came to understand His words and what they meant. I knew the gift. We all knew the gift. But when I came back and knelt at His feet, when I poured out my heart to Him in gratitude, when I gazed into His eyes and saw who He was, I received something more. I not only knew the gift, I now knew the giver. And though I did go on my way, as He said, I never saw Him again with my eyes, but He has never left me. Never. I live every day in the joy of what He's done for me. I live every day wanting to live my life in a way that I think He would approve. I live every day for Him because in knowing Him, He gave me that something more. You've come to the time of year when you remember life's good gifts. You know that wonderful things have touched your life and blessed you. You know the joy of family. Right here in this room, you know the blessing of belonging. You have hopes that brighten your tomorrows. But there is that something more. That something more that you can only receive when you ask yourself, who has given me these gifts? Where are they from? Who do I thank? How do I live? Don't let Jesus be a faraway figure. Don't let him be someone you see only at a distance, only blurry outlines of who he is and what he means. Come to him. In your heart, by faith, find him today. Kneel at his feet and pour out your heart in thanksgiving for what he has done, and then look into his face. Look into his eyes and receive the greatest gift, a heart that's made whole by living to serve the giver of the gift. You know, many of life's best gifts don't last forever. Companies close, jobs end, people get sick, they pass away. But if you know the giver of the gifts, you can have that gift that never leaves you. For you can live in the calm assurance that you are his and he is yours. Celebrate all of life's good gifts, but don't miss the greatest gift. Come to know Jesus, the giver of life. Return and give thanks. Lord Jesus, help us to see beyond the gifts to the giver. Help us to learn that we are not just fortunate or lucky. We are blessed. We are graced. We are deeply loved. And in that experience of gratitude, may we offer you the only gift that's fitting for what you've done. Our lives, our souls, our all. May we, like our friend of long ago, receive that something extra today, because we do more than count our blessings. May we be those who fall at the feet of the giver. Amen. We're going to sing hymn number 373, A call to give thanks. And to give thanks for Christ. If there's a step you need to take in your journey of faith today, it would be my joy to share that with you as your pastor and your friend. To give your heart to Christ, to renew your walk with Him, to make this your place to worship and work for Him. Maybe you just need to bow in a moment of grateful prayer today. The time is yours to listen. The time is yours to respond. Let's make good use of it.